Welcome to Let's Be Perfectly Queer,
a queer podcast creating space to talk about all things queer.
My name is Archie.
And I'm Katie.
And we are your hosts.
Questions of how you identify, seeking answers to clarify. Whether you're queen
or somewhere in between, let's be perfectly queer.
So yeah, we are back for season 3. Thanks, Lucas, for being our first guest. It was a really interesting conversation. If you haven't heard that, you can go back and listen to the last episode and the start of season 3 where we talked conversion therapy.
Yeah, and somebody who's been in it as well as has done a lot of research and has a book out about it.
Yeah, and it's actually number 2 on the Amazon charts for the LGBTQ category. So well done there, Dr. Lucas Wilson.
That is so good. That is so, so good. And such a good time as well with everything that's happening.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been on break a lot for the big events that have been happening in the world. And to be honest, half of me just felt a little bit blessed to be on break just because it's given the time to actually evaluate how, to be honest, it's given me time to really process the feelings of scared.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And looking at the politics in the world and what's going on, and we've got elections coming up this year, and that's things that we need to think about because just this week, we're recording in February 2025, and the Queensland government have just blocked hormone treatment for new patients under 18. And they're really just specifically looking at hormone blockers.
Okay.
But they're still allowing cisgender kids.
What do you mean it's allowed for cisgendered kids? Like, what are we actually banning? So hormone blockers is itself. So you're only allowed to have a hormone blocker if you're not trans or non-binary, I'm guessing?
Yes, correct.
But then why would you need a hormone blocker if you weren't trans or non-binary for a medical issue?
Yes,
okay.
For a medical issue.
So I kind of understand the justification for it being for cisgendered people if it's for medical. I mean, if anything's for medical, there's generally a reason for it, but I don't think that there's a lot of nuance to that conversation, isn't it? I don't think it's great anyway that you should be governing something that is done by doctors, that is evidence-based, that is research, that is potentially going to affect somebody's the rest of their life and their mental state. So,
yeah. And in other news, England hockey towards the end of last year, or was it the beginning of this year? Either one, recently announced that as of the beginning of next season, transgender women will be banned from competing, asking them to play in an open category.
What does open category mean?
The all genders kind of sporting categories.
But how is that blocking transgender women?
They're not allowed to play on the women's teams.
Okay.
As of next season.
But they're women.
Yeah. And so people forget, and there has been this rhetoric online on TikTok and that kind of stuff where people are getting annoyed at Australians and young Australians saying, why are you so obsessed with the American politics? Why are you so obsessed with what's happening in England, etc.? But people don't realize what happens around the world has a domino effect. And so we need to be aware of what's happening in other countries to be able to educate ourselves on what's happening and what we can do differently.
It's true.
Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous to think that our government doesn't benchmark against other big Western governments. It's ridiculous to think that it wouldn't affect us. And we've seen it in the past that it does. We do tend to follow America and we do tend to follow England. I mean, understanding we come under the Commonwealth banner, so it makes sense to have a lot of understanding that if it happens in England, then there's a high potential that it will happen in Australia. But I know, to be honest, anybody out there who's listening and isn't from Australia, or even if you are from Australia, I just send out my thoughts and prayers for you because if you're feeling anything similar to how I'm feeling, which is scared for what the future will bring, either because you live in a country that is persecuting you or you're living in a country that has the potential to, it's a really fucking scary time.
Yeah.
And it feels surreal. And we've talked to friends about it and we have such beautiful people around us who have been checking in, but you just don't know what's going to be. You never know what's going to be in your lifetime. And I mean, fucking hell, we've already lived through a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to be next?
And I think someone brought it up recently, what would I do? And would I stop the podcast? Would I do this kind of stuff? And I said, I'm not going to stop the podcast. I'm not going to stop talking about my trans experience on the podcast and that kind of stuff. But I have to be more wary now about being open and trans at work, at those kind of places. And it kind of sucks that it's almost like I'm going backwards after everything that's happened. And I do have the privilege of passing. So I can do that. But there are other non-binary and trans individuals who can't. And so it's like, it is a very uncertain time and what's happening.
It's so true. And we've got an upcoming episode with a beautiful drag performer who's a trans non-binary individual who has had to cancel their shows through America because it's not safe for themselves and not safe for the crew. So the fact that it's affecting people's livelihoods is such a big thing. It's scary.
And then also recently on one of the government websites in America, they've changed their advice for LGBTQ travelers to just LGB.
Oh.
So they've taken away transgender and queer on the website for the, when you go to a government website and that kind of stuff, and they've taken it away. So they're trying to erase transgender and queer individuals. And if it happens in America, there is no reason why someone won't try to do it here.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking about, I did raise the conversation with you to be like, well, what does it mean for our future in this podcast?
Yep.
Because there's a certain element of you don't know how far it's going to go. Well, we need to consider the safety of ourselves, but also considering the safety of our friends around us, being so open about where we live. And it's just, and you came back with such a beautiful issue. And to be honest, I'm a fighter. Yeah. Like I am.
And I know we had conversations about getting rid of the fact that we live in Perth.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But then I said no, because we need to be visible for the others who don't have the strength to be visible, so that they know, hey, I'm not the only person who's transgender or pansexual or non-binary or queer in Perth, in WA. That's already such an isolated place in the world.
Yeah. And it's true. You've got to think about it from the broader knowledge that it's funny because we sit here in our own room talking to people who are out there that we know. But what makes it real is that when we meet people who do listen and they are thankful to have this relationship with us in a way that they get to share these conversations that they might not have somebody to share with, that it's really impactful. And we have seen that, and I don't want to forget, but I forget how much we potentially can impact people in the way. I think it might just be an Australian thing where you're just like, oh, what do you mean? We're just sitting down here chatting.
Yeah.
But no, the comments that we've had from people and the emails that we've had from people have been so beautiful that you're right. It is not to have a savior complex or anything, but but it is important to have these. It's important to have queer representation. It's important for people who are diverse to be out there and to speaking about it, because no matter what, there's going to be people who live in situations who can't have these conversations. Like when both of us were growing up, there wasn't great identifiers out there or people that you can feel connected to who are going through the same journey as you. And we have that unique ability to be in a situation to have these discussions and put this podcast out there for people so they don't feel so alone. So I'm glad you felt that way. And I'm so glad that we had that conversation, because it's right.
So as long as we can, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're not going anywhere. We'll still be around. We'll still be at every single event that we can get to. Yeah. We are trying our best to continue on.
And there's Albany Pride happening in March that we're going to try our best to get to. So if you're not sure, have a look at the Albany Pride Instagrams and socials and find out about that. It does happen over the long weekend here in WA. So no excuse to not travel down and go check it out.
Yeah, very true. We can't wait to go. It'll be awesome. If we can find an Airbnb.
Yeah, that's the plan. Let's end on some good news before we get into this topic. Thailand. What's happened in Thailand recently?
Oh my goodness. Thailand has recently allowed same-sex marriage.
Well done, Thailand.
Beautiful. But I remember when I went to Thailand, there are certain areas that I didn't feel really safe being openly queer in. So it's really beautiful now that they're embracing the queer culture and allowing for same-sex marriage. I love that.
Well done, Thailand.
Well done, Thailand.
Good work. And now we're going to get into today's episode. What is today's episode?
So, on today's episode, we're doing Would You Rather, the queer edition.
Let's get into it. So, on this episode, it's called Would You Rather?
Ooh.
And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you questions with a queer twist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about choosing between the two awkward or different scenarios. And I want you to answer them. You can answer them with personal stories if you have any, or you can just answer them depending on which one would you rather.
Okay. Are
Cool.
you also going to be answering them, or is it just me?
I can answer them as well. So today we're playing a fun round of queer would you rather. It's going to get weird, maybe. I don't know, depending on how our answers go. But yeah, we're here to have some fun and do a easy, relaxed episode.
I feel like it is going to get weird. I
Probably.
mean, you asking me questions, it's always going to get weird.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. If you
Have
say so.
you heard the podcast?
I have. I'm the one who edits it. So yes, I have heard the podcast. Have you heard the podcast? When was the last time you listened to one of our episodes?
Oh, you're funny.
Yeah, I thought so. Should we just get straight into it?
Yep.
Would you rather have your parents accidentally find your secret queer playlist
Uh-huh.
or your secret drag makeup stash? So if you were a drag king,
Okay.
which would you rather?
I mean, if it was my makeup. Okay. So hypothetical, I still live at home.
So if you were a drag king, it's also things like your packer and your fake beards and all that kind of stuff. So
Like my packer as well.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a hard one. I'd probably go for my queer playlist because, like, what's the worst thing they're going to hear?
Yeah.
I feel like just because the way that parents' imaginations go when they find things like beards and packers and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff is like the worst case scenario. Whereas I feel like if they found my queer playlist, it would still be like, yeah, whatever.
yeah, no, that makes sense.
Open to interpretation. What
Yeah.
about yourself?
It'd probably be queer playlist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what's the worst that a queer playlist can do? Imagine if it was a rock song and it was like, I love sucking da 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 da. Anyway.
I don't think I've ever heard that song, but if anybody has heard that
Oh.
song, you can comment in
Totes my goats. There's a rock band that's based around Ned Flanders.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's it called?
I can't remember. I actually can't remember. It's got to be like the Okie Dokies or something. I'm pretty sure that's the name of them. And they literally only sing words that Ned Flanders has said. And it's hardcore rock.
I'm going to look this up.
Screamo. Yeah, it's really cool. I can't believe you don't know about this.
Nope, never heard of it.
Wow. I reckon it's Okie Dokies.
Oakley Dokley.
Oh,
Yeah.
so close.
They describe themselves as a needle band, like or nettle, and maybe nettle band. Get it? Like metal.
Ah,
So they're a nettle band, combining heavy metal music with themes inspired by Ned Flanders. Yeah, they even dress like Ned Flanders. But yeah, no, that's interesting.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, question number 2.
Yeah.
Would you rather go on a date with someone who has no idea what queer means or someone who constantly uses outdated queer slurs?
Oh, no idea what queer means.
Yeah.
Hands down. Because the whole idea of queer outdated slurs is just, I mean, there's not many people who don't know what the queer slurs are. And I feel like if they are saying those queer slurs, it's that they've heard it from someone that they're around.
Yep.
Or they have friends that say it a lot and that's how they present themselves. I would never want to be on a date with somebody like that. But on the flip side, because some people actually don't know what queer means. We've had
Yeah.
this conversation like maybe last week with Gary and what that means. And I'm just like, some people just don't know. Some people in like different generations don't know. So that wouldn't bother me. It doesn't necessarily lead a stigma for, it's that whole thing of like one of them can potentially be really derogatory and the other one is just like maybe they don't know what they're talking about.
And they can learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
It's easy. Doesn't know what queer means because if they want to learn, that is something that I can share with them. If not, it's something that if they want to learn in their own time, it's not derogatory and homophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think adding to that, they might not know what queer means because it could be a language barrier, but then also it could mean that they might have grown up in the country or they might have grown up in an area that doesn't have a lot of queer. So
Yeah.
I definitely prefer that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Hmm.
Would you rather only be able to wear rainbow clothes for the rest of your life or only be able to talk in queer slang?
I guess rainbow clothes. It depends on what the rainbow clothes were, because I don't like bright colours. I'd prefer... I mean, okay.
What are you talking about? You love bright colours. You have so much... What's that really popular brand that you like that we always go past all the time? Gorman.
Yeah, I do love Gorman. Okay, so it depends on what kind of the rainbow do you mean. Like, I can dress in bright colours, would love that, but I don't like dressing specifically in rainbow.
Yep.
Just because it's not my aesthetic, which sounds so weird, but like, I do love it for pride, for just not every day. But talking in queer slang, God, I wouldn't be able to do my job.
Yeah.
Nah, can't. What about yourself?
Queer slang.
Yep.
I reckon I could work it into my everyday because I'm not a super rainbow person. Like,
Yeah.
I'll do colours occasionally,
God.
but I do also like a lot of blacks and darks and that kind of thing. To only be able to have rainbow, it's not going to work for me. Like, there's nothing wrong with the rainbow, but it just doesn't really suit my aesthetic to constantly be in rainbow. I do have some rainbow shirts, like a beautiful one that your mum has made me, but I don't wear it constantly. It kind of comes out for pride or special events, but it's not in my everyday repertoire of clothing that comes out.
Do you know what? I was just thinking that, and I'm like, yeah, you wear black a fair bit.
Yeah.
You're a punk emo boy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
Emo, what is it? Emo is a lifestyle. It's not a face.
Dead
Yeah.
straight.
Would you rather always be the only queer person at a party or always be the only straight person at a queer party?
Oh. I mean, probably the only queer person, because I don't want to be the only straight person because I'm not the only straight person.
Mm-hmm.
So it would, like, it's kind of the insinuation that I would have to change myself. Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, if you're the only straight person at a queer party, you're probably having an awesome fucking party.
You're probably having a great time.
I know.
Yeah.
If I was just generally straight
Yep.
and didn't have to change myself, then I would be the straight person at a queer party.
Yep.
But if I did, then I guess I would be the other way around. Queers just know how to party.
Yeah.
And it's a
very true.
safe place generally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yourself?
I'd rather be... You just said a queer person, right? At the straight party? Or wait, did you say the
I
other way
don't
around?
know.
Wait, I'm so confused because you started one way and then you kind of drifted
I
to the next way. So what is your answer on that one?
Oh, fine. A straight person at a queer party.
Yep.
It's just better.
Well, see, me, because being trans, I would be a straight person
Oh,
at
shit.
a queer
Yeah,
party,
you are a straight
technically.
person at a queer party.
Because, yeah, like we've spoken about, technically I'm straight. So for me, I would be a straight person at a queer party.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Funny thing.
Yes.
And this could be me and my lack of education and
Yes.
probably have to find some more knowledge in this basis.
Yes.
But if I were to be non-binary
Mm-hmm.
and you still...
Then I would be a queer person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's how I'd identify, but not everybody would.
Yeah.
Some people would just say that they're a straight person who's fallen for a non-binary person,
Yeah.
where some may identify as queer. So it
Yeah.
all depends on the preference of the person. Fun fact, let's go into a quick story. So when I was, I think, 21 in Vietnam, we had a distant cousin, and he read our auras and palms, but he wouldn't read our cards. And what he said, one of the things he said was, after the age of 25, I would be straight. And the whole family laughed and said, that's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
look, it actually did happen. Because also there was translation because he was speaking Vietnamese the whole time. So dad was translating.
Yeah.
And so what he said, well, dad was like, oh, after 25, you'll be straight. And obviously we were like, yeah, right, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
technically I am straight.
Technically you are. The funny thing is, when you and I walk down the street because you passed, we just look like a heterosexual couple. That gets me sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like we're masking in society.
I do feel awkward sometimes going to queer events. Like we did go to a few queer events where I'm like, do people realize we're queer? Some people probably would realize I'm trans,
Yeah.
but others wouldn't.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like when we go to queer events, you do... Like, you're always wearing rainbows. It's not like you're wearing, like, you tend to wear bright colours. You
Yeah.
tend to wear the shirts that you got that have more
Pridey things on them.
pridey
Yeah.
things on them. So I think that and it's funny because I feel like trans people can clock more trans people as
Yes.
well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we need to talk about that.
Yeah, we can look into it. But it's because I look for things.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I think this person is trans. I could be wrong sometimes, but I'm not going to go up to someone and say, you're trans.
Oh, God, no.
But I'm like, oh, yeah, I think they're trans. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's on their own journey and it's such a personal thing. I'm not going to be calling out people because sometimes it does feel like a call out because you don't know if that person is around other people who are safe.
Yeah.
Like we do know trans people who haven't told a lot of people in their lives that they're trans, and I would never want to be like...
yeah, because some
And
people
it's
are stealth.
Yeah.
They're for their own safety.
Absolutely. And it's not my position and it's not my right. Like, it's just not.
No.
Anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
Next cue.
Would you rather have your entire family know you're queer but never speak about it, or have them ask you awkward questions about your sexuality all the time?
There's so many facets to it.
Go on.
So I think that I would prefer them knowing I was queer and asking me awkward questions if the awkward questions were different awkward questions each time.
So what would be an awkward question that you think they'd ask you about your sexuality?
Probably not my family, but
Yeah.
if I had a family who was like really questioning about it, people always ask like, how do you have sex? And I don't have a problem answering that because I'll be like, well, like, how does anyone have sex?
Yeah.
Why is this an appropriate question? Because I'm happy to redirect people when there's an inappropriate question.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I prefer that. I would prefer my family to know that I was queer than not know. Because there are so many different facets of not being out. And I was not out for, I would say, I was like a long time, but it's not a long time. Like I came out when I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
if not younger, to my family. And I did not handle living in the shadows very well. I was very self-destructive in that time. So I'd prefer not to live like that. What about yourself?
I would definitely rather have my entire family know that I was queer, because growing up in a small country town, it's kind of what happened. We didn't speak about it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Growing up in a small country town of like less than 3,000 people, it was kind of like my family, specifically my mum, who, like I've said, is great now, is don't hold hands in public. Don't, do things because, and it was more about the shame that she thought people would talk about it more than anything.
Yeah.
And that's the problem when you grow up in a small country town, about people just talking about your business, if that makes sense. And so with Mum, it was more about she was embarrassed, especially from a Portuguese Catholic family who was big into the church. It was like, what are they going to say that you have a queer child? So that's kind of how it was. So I would say, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's kind of how it was.
Yeah, you got to laugh through the grief at times, don't you?
Yeah.
Whatever you cope with. That's so hard.
I guess, but that's what I grew up with. It did suck, but I was really glad that I could escape to the city and be myself, because it was only ever when I went back to visit. And like I said, I haven't been back to visit since prior to transitioning. So at least 6 years.
Yeah. It's a funny thing that, isn't it? Like we were saying just before, we do pass as a straight couple. I wonder how comfortable our families would be if we didn't, like going out with us. If you were still presenting as a female and you had a female partner, I wonder how comfortable your mum would be us holding hands and going out to, say, dim sum. I
think she'd be fine, because prior to transitioning, she was really awesome about me being queer. She kind of did it. I think she might have talked to one of her friends or something, but she really turned a leaf and all of a sudden was super supportive. She would share a lot of stuff about having a LGBT child and being a really proud mum. So I think she'd be okay, but I'm not I think she'd be fine. But that's here, maybe in the small country town it'd be different.
Yeah.
But here, I think, totally fun. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Hypotheticals are interesting. Anyway.
Would you rather always use the wrong pronouns for someone, but they're always understanding, or always get the right pronouns, but makes you feel uncomfortable?
Always use the right pronouns.
Yeah.
I'd prefer uncomfortable in myself than making somebody else feel uncomfortable or inadequate.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of like, I'd prefer hold the shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the shame, the discomfort. I'd prefer the hold the discomfort.
No, I totally agree as well. If it makes someone else feel a little bit more comfortable but makes me feel uncomfortable, then yeah totally.
Absolutely. God forbid. God forbid there's people out there that think the other way around. Would you prefer, in a different relationship to ours, would you prefer to U-haul and have to live with that person within the first 2 months?
Yep.
Or have to do long distance for the first year of the relationship?
Long distance.
Interesting.
Yeah. How about yourself?
I would prefer the U-haul.
Really?
Yeah.
See, because I like my personal space and bubble when at the start, because you're still starting to get to know each other, and that uncomfortableness of having a stranger into your life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And also being trans, that's something I need to think about as well. So for me, definitely it would be the long distance and just get to know them slowly and that kind of stuff rather than you haul straight into it. Why the U-Haul?
Because when I get to know somebody and I really like them, I want to spend all my time with them. And then after that, I'm like, no, I need some space. So I'll be like, hauling it 2 months.
That surprises me because you like your own space. Yeah.
I love my own space. But if you also think about it, even though we got together in COVID, we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah, virtually online and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that if we had been seeing each other in person, we probably would have been spending a lot of time together in person. And then I reckon after that, I would have been like, hey, I need to chill, bro.
Peace out. You're annoying me.
No, maybe.
Would you rather be stuck in a small town where everyone knows you're queer or a big city where no one knows you're queer?
Big city.
Yep. Why?
Because I don't like small towns.
Would you feel like you lose a part of yourself, though, by nobody knowing that you are queer?
I mean, it depends if, like, how does nobody know that I'm queer? If I'm out there snogging individuals and going to pride stuff, I guess that wouldn't bother me. I find it really difficult, and this comes to my personality more, is like living in a small town and everyone knows every single thing that I'm doing. And I'm so awkward when I enjoy meeting people for the first time and having a short conversation, but I'm not good at the small talk that goes in between introduction to I know your deepest, darkest secrets.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what small towns is all about, is that middle ground. And I'm like, nah, I don't want that. I'd prefer to just be in a bit, and also I love big cities. You?
Big city too.
Yeah.
The reason why is because being trans,
yeah,
it doesn't really phase me for people not knowing I'm queer. Like, I do love my queer identity. I do love being transgender, but it's not going, well, I don't love being transgender. I'll take that back. So for me, being trans, the whole idea is for the society to see you as the person that you are.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't bother me because being trans, and if people then saw that they just think I'm a male assigned at birth, that's totally fine. And yes, I'd feel like I lost a part of myself, but I just don't feel like I belong. And I love being able to do things and having music culture and all that kind of stuff that you don't generally get in a small town.
Yeah. Do you know, there's two things that popped into my head when we were talking. So the first thing is, like, also, if you're queer and you live in a small town, your love life is greatly diminished, generally. And, like, somehow, I'm always like, the only gay in the village. You don't want to be the only gay in the village because your likelihood of finding love is probably a little bit less. I would say probably more than likely. The second thing is I saw this reel the other day where someone's like, no one wants to be trans.
No.
It resonated so much because it's not something that people generally say. In the same way that, like, I remember when I was first on my discovery of what my sexual identity was, I was just like, I don't want to be like this. I would love to be straight. I don't feel that way now, funnily enough. Two facets. I don't feel that way because I feel empowered in my identity. But then on the flip side as well, is it a lot harder? Yeah, it's always going to be a lot harder. But yeah, people, like, that's the whole point of being trans, is you would prefer to be in the body that you should have been in.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, fair.
Yeah, nobody chooses to be trans.
No.
If they had a choice, they would not be trans and they'd be put into the body that they should have been. Like me, I would not choose to be trans. Like, yes, it's made me who I am today, but it would cause so much less mental turmoil and the cost of all the stuff involved to just be born in the correct body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you rather exclusively wear clothes from the early 2000s emo phase or be locked into the ultimate queer-coded Disney villain wardrobe forever?
Disney villain wardrobe. Okay, let me just think about this. Queer-coded. So kind of like Agatha all along.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's how I dress anyway. A little bit.
Yeah?
Or emo phase. Emo phase had the lowrider jeans. I can't do
Emo phase did not do the lowrider jeans.
Yeah.
They were skinny jeans.
Yeah, skinny jeans. Skinny jeans that were like, that were hips.
No.
No, they weren't high-waisted. I did have a lot of cool outfits in my emo phase. It's not a phase. It's a lifestyle. This is hard. I like both of them because you can still be emo in your Disney villains.
Yep.
I reckon maybe Disney villains. I could rock it. There are so many Disney villains out there. Yeah, Disney villains.
Yep.
What about yourself?
Emo for life. I do have the plugs still, and it's funny when students are like, what are those? And I'm like, what do you mean, what are those? Because kids don't really do it anymore.
Yeah, they don't do plugs,
no.
do they? Yeah, whenever I see like someone with plugs, I'm like, you would have been my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on now. Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
Would you prefer to have a monobrow with no other facial hair or a beard with a monobrow?
A beard with a monobrow.
Oh, wait, no. A
Because it
beard.
would just distract from the monobrow.
All right, how about I try this again? Would you prefer monobrow? Wait, would you prefer monobrow, but you have your head hair and your beard?
Monobrow with head hair and beard. Yep.
Or beard, no eyebrows and bald?
Monobrow, beard and hair. It's pretty,
But
yeah.
it's always a monobrow. Like you could pluck it and it's always there.
That's fine. That doesn't
Yeah.
bother me. How about you? What would you do in that circumstance?
Do I have a beard?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have one right now. I epilated. So I've got a beard in both of the situations.
Yep.
Except one of them I don't have a monobrow. I'd say beard and bald. There's awesome wigs out there. I don't want a monobrow. Even if it grows back. Oh, could I rock it? Could I free to colour it? Both situations I've got a beard. I'm going to have to tackle that. One of them I'm bald. The other one I've got my own hair. I guess if I'm doing epilating all the beard or like lasering or doing whatever to all the beard and the monobrow, I might as well have my own hair. Yeah, I guess that's the option. It was better in my head than it came out. Just saying.
That's right. All right, let's do something that's not queer related.
Oh,
just
okay,
some
sure.
random would you rather. Would you rather be a backup dancer for Beyonce or play drums for Foo Fighters for a night?
Drums for Foo Fighters.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, hands down. Can't
Yeah.
play drums, but I would try. If Foo Fighters had asked me to play drums, I would fucking play drums for them. Also, not with everything that's going on about Jay-Z at the moment. Don't want to be associated with them.
True. Would you rather spend a week inside Shrek's swamp or Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but you cannot touch the candy?
Oh, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to eat the candy.
Or the smell of chocolate 24/7? Like,
No, I'd probably get over it. It's like
Yeah.
when you are a barista and you get over the smell of coffee because you're constantly around coffee.
I don't know. I guess I'd be
remember-
very, like, for me, the smell constantly, I'd want to have it. So I'd probably hang out at Shrek Swamp.
I can't deal with dirty feet. I'm not good with dirty. I need to be clean. There has been multiple occasions that I've gone and done multi-day festivals and I nearly die at the end. Like I love seeing the music, but I need to be clean. Like I can't deal. I need to be clean. I just can't. Even now I'm like, no.
Just the thought of it makes you
Yeah,
like,
I can't deal. Like dirty feet in a bed. Oh,
yeah,
no.
it's that is one of your pet peeves. You hate
Oh,
dirty feet
can't.
in a bed.
Can't deal. Yes, the dogs sleep on our bed.
Yes,
I'm
they do.
aware. They don't sleep under the covers. I can't have them under the covers.
No, you
on the
can't.
covers. I'm dying. Okay, next question, please.
Would you rather only listen to your least favorite song on repeat for a month or have no music at all for 6 months?
What do you mean by least favorite
Like
song?
a song that when you hear it's nails on a chalkboard.
No music.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I would much rather hear a song for a week a month. I'd rather hear my least favorite song for a month and still have music.
See, I would be the worst person to be around ever if I had to hear the same song that nearly killed me every single day.
Yeah.
I'm not good with agitation, and that
No,
would
you're
make me
terrible.
so agitated. I'd just be like, oh, I'm surprised you're choosing this, actually.
Well, I could not have music,
What if you could like hum and create your own music?
but there's still music. I think that technically cheats.
So if you're like humming,
yeah,
you can't hum.
because it says no music.
What about whistling?
That's technically
What about
music.
farting?
If it's in a musical tone, it's still music. Well, see, for me, because like it doesn't say that you can't also listen to other songs. I could still listen to that one on repeat, but then to have another song break
At
it
the
up.
same time?
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you
no.
not heard of mashups?
I can't.
but there
I
are-
hate mashups.
yeah. There's heaps of songs that I absolutely hate, and I think it's like nails on chalkboard. But the more I listen to it, it's bearable.
Yeah, you do. Often
Yeah.
that's how you like a song in the end, is you listen to it a couple of times and then you're
Yeah,
like,
I'm like,
ah,
this song sucks. I hate it so much. It irritates me, and then I end up liking it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't deal.
Let's do a couple more, and then we'll finish this episode. A nice, chill, easy, relaxing episode. Just have us in the background while you're doing your laundry.
I feel like I'm doing mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you rather have a permanent clown nose that honks when you touch it, or duck feet that squeak when you walk?
I hate this. Okay, so I've got a bit of trauma about clowns
Yep.
because my last name is very similar. And I used to get called Bozo by
Yep.
one of my teachers in school. Disliked him a lot because I'm just like, don't do that, mate. That's actually really rude and racist because
Yep.
just because my last name is not English sounding. Anyway, so it was always like Bozo the clown. And I'm like, nah. And I'm so red in the face. I would look like a clown. Oh, I can't deal. Duck feet squeaking. Oh God, that would be so bad with the dogs. The dogs
Yeah.
would be like
They'd be
running
going
after
straight
me.
for your feet. I'd rather do the nose
Yeah.
because I would just get a job as a clown.
Yeah, cool.
So that would work for me.
This is horrible.
Do you want to finish with one more or two more?
2 more.
All right, 2 more. Would you rather fight 100 toddler-sized zombies or one zombie-sized toddler?
I hate zombies.
I know you do.
Oh, fuck.
And you have to fight them.
Fight them.
Yes.
Like, to the death.
Yes.
Nah, one zombie-sized toddler.
Really?
Yeah, they're squidgy. I could just, like, baseball back to the head. Because, like, the zombie-sized toddler doesn't have zombie characteristics, so a lot easier to kill. Whereas it's like when ants go and kill something that's not necessarily their size, like ants can go and kill a magpie. I could be wrong. Anyway, but like there are so many of them. It reminds me of Gulliver's Travels. I don't remember the gist of it, and I could be totally wrong. You don't listen to this for the facts about Gulliver, guys. But it was that whole thing of like there were so many little people and they end up taking down a giant.
Is that Gulliver's Travels?
It used to have Jack Black in it. They remade it and it was Jack Black. Anyway, I reckon they could take me down, and I fucking hate zombies.
Yeah.
Hate them. Can't deal.
I would rather do 100 toddler-sized zombies because I'm not actually killing a human. Because if they're zombies and they're on the brink of no return, is this like the train dilemma? Then I could literally get into a tractor and just roll them over, or like a cement roller and just roll them over because they're not actually human. And this is only if there's like no cure, because otherwise I'm killing a person.
Oh man, you've made me sound like a shit bloke. Thanks. Also,
Yeah.
there's 100 of them, like fucking 100. Think of 100 toddlers.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of babies in our life
Yeah.
right now. 100 of them.
But
I'm looking around the room. I'm like, that's a whole fucking room. No, it's more than a room.
Yes.
Oh no, they're everywhere.
But you hate zombies.
Oh, I don't like this at all. Are they less scary because they're small? Yes.
Yes.
But do you turn into a zombie still if they bite you? Or is it like Daddy Longlegs, they can bite you, but they can't do anything about it because it's such a small mouth?
I don't know. I guess like if they draw blood, then yes. But I guess...
What if they scratch you? Are we talking about zombies? Or are we talking about...
let's talk about zombies that just bite you to turn you, like a
Ew.
vampire.
Does that mean that you shrink when you become a zombie?
Yeah, and you turn into a toddler-sized zombie.
Oh, fuck. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
zombie.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Nah, 100% I'd prefer a zombie-sized toddler. Take that shit down.
Okay.
And whoever's birthing that, like,
But maybe it wasn't a birth thing. Maybe it was something in the water.
that made the baby really big. Okay, so hopefully this... Oh, no. So many... All right, moral predicament. I'm in a moral predicament. I hate it. I'm still choosing the baby. Sorry. Don't listen to this, all my friends who have babies. I love your babies. I would never do this to them. This is a life or death situation. The baby's going to kill me.
Sure.
Well, that's what you said. It's a fight to the death.
Yeah.
That's what a fight to the death means.
Yes.
I feel like I'm really having to... I'm going to have to do some damage control after this.
So, last question in this Would You Rather episode. Would you rather always have to hop on one foot or always have to sing everything you say?
Sing. Yep.
Yeah, same.
Hopping on one foot, like...
You got a bad knee, so that wouldn't work.
I mean, I could just hop on the other leg. I mean, technically, could you not just skip
Yeah, you could hop from
because you're hopping from one to another?
Yeah, but you can only ever hop on one foot at a time.
But you don't have to be hopping all the time. Nah, I'd be hopping.
I'd sing everything I say like a musical.
Yeah. God, I wouldn't be... Imagine having sex with somebody. Nah, I prefer hopping. Because then you could just be like, well, in essence, you've just got, like, issues with your legs at that stage, isn't it? I can't sing everything. God, I'd be so embarrassed. You know I can't deal with embarrassment.
You hate embarrassment. You hate anything that makes you cringe.
I can't. I'd cringe at myself. I literally... Oh, maybe that's the whole thing. What if instead of having to talk, I could sign everything? Is that a way of getting around
No.
it? Okay, shit. No, I'm hopping. I can't. What do you reckon your mum would choose?
Should sing. Yeah, Mum would
Really?
sing. Yeah. And Dad would also sing.
He used to sing all the time,
Yeah,
didn't he?
in
He used to
Vietnamese.
sing to you guys as kids.
Yeah, in our VHS, which was half English, half Vietnamese.
Do you know what? I don't think there's many people who would choose hopping.
I think you are one of a kind. I think most people would probably choose sing, but that's
If
my...
everyone
yeah.
was singing, I would sing though.
I would really love to hear what everyone listening, what their opinions are. Like, what do you guys think? Would you rather hop or sing
Yeah.
everything you say?
And please tell me why. Am I the only person who feels like this?
I'm sure you're not. I'm sure there's other people who feel like the way you feel.
Do we need to go to therapy together? If you choose hopping, do we need a joint session together where we just chill out and talk about why we would choose hopping?
So if you like this episode and you like us to do something like this again, please let us know. If you never want us to ever do this episode again, also let us know so that we won't do it again.
We're still doing it again. I actually enjoy it, even though I'm like, oh, the inner dichotomies of life.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for getting through all the way to the episode. If you did like it, we do ask that maybe you share it to a friend because that is the best way for others to hear our episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like listen along and tell us your answers, or listen with your friend and like share your answers together.
Yeah.
And learn more shit about each other. It's very cool.
I think that'd be great.
I feel like I've learnt more about you
And I feel like I've learned more about you.
and my
Not
hopping.
really. I feel like I knew the answers that you were going to say. But yeah, so thank you so much. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe as well if I'm not asking too much.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not asking you to sing.
That is true. Not asking you to sing everything you say.
Yeah.
So that's been our episode. It's been the Would You Rather episode, and nice and easy for your listening ears. And so until next time, I hope that we have been
Perfectly queer.